Welcome to the Fowler College of Business Management Major Career Pathway Series. I'm your host, Andy Esparza, and I'm really excited to spotlight our alums and how the management major helped shape their careers. In this series, you will hear successful management alums discuss their career journeys, offer career insights, and how San Diego State University faculty and experiences help shape the professionals they are today. Well, welcome everybody to this latest edition of our Career Pathways series, featuring San Diego State University alumni of the management program of the Fowler College of Business. Today, we're thrilled to have Kathy Santos with us. Kathy is a graduate of the HR specialization. So Kathy, welcome.
Hi, happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
Sure. Kathy, I think it would be great for us to start out with just kind of a basic question. When did you graduate? And tell us a little bit about your job and what you're up to today.
Yeah, definitely. So I graduated in spring of 2018, which wasn't too long ago, but feels like forever ago sometimes. And currently, I recently joined L Brands, specifically Bath and Body Works, as an HR generalist.
Okay, well, that's a good brand. I'm sure a lot of people recognize that one. So we'll get back to that here in a few minutes. But I'm really curious. It always amazes me and maybe brings a smile to my face when people tell me that, boy, I knew what I wanted to be when I was 2 years old. And I think we all know that this path to figuring out what you want to do usually isn't that straightforward. But I'm interested in our discussions a little bit about how you ended up in human resources and the journey that you took to get there.
Yeah, absolutely. So I would describe my journey as not quite the traditional track to the HR career that I am now. So originally, right out of high school, I got accepted into San Diego State as a dance major, funny enough. That was what my passion was, and it still is one of my hobbies, but life happened. I wasn't able to attend San Diego State, right? And I ended up attending a community college and working full time to support my family and in retail. So through retail, I worked my way up working full time through management and discovered that I was pretty passionate about business also. Fast forward to 2016, I was reaccepted to San Diego State now as a business major, and kind of found my passion for HR through SHRM, the Society for Human Resource Management, after I was exposed to it from, an introduction to human resources class. So grateful for all of the little steps along the way, but everything happens for a reason, and I'm happy I was able to discover HR and begin a career there.
Okay, well, dance major to HR professional. That's awesome. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about human resources. Maybe you can give us a little bit of an overview of what human resources people do.
Definitely. So human resources is really to support the management side of the organization. We really support the people function, and that just means it can be anything from employee relations, compensation, analytics. So I think there's a little bit of something for everybody in HR. One thing I did underestimate going into the field is HR can be really managing through managers and helping to support them and supporting their teams and making the right decisions for the business.
Okay. So I know you mentioned it, and I'm glad you did, that there's something for everybody. So maybe you could give a little bit more detail on some of the functional areas within HR so that our viewers, the students, can get a better understanding of what those are and what maybe a little bit about what it entails.
Absolutely. So in HR, a couple of specializations there. There is employee relations, which is something that I'm personally passionate about. There's also the talent acquisition that falls under the HR umbrella. There's also learning and development, HR analytics, compensation. So there's everything from the more softer people skill side of HR all the way through something that's more analytical and more numbers based. The employee relations piece, which is what my role is currently focused on, is really in trying to navigate tough situations in the workplace, trying to make sure that we maintain a happy and good working environment for all of our employees. And it depends on where you go, what specifically that looks like. But at the end of the day, it's making sure that everyone is happy and comfortable in their working environment and sorting through those situations that come up in the workplace where, people may disagree and trying to reach a resolution there.
Okay. So all things people, the hiring of people, the development of people, paying people correctly, providing the right benefits packages, and like you mentioned, the employee relations function, which is really trying to facilitate agreement between employees, most of the time between employees and managers on differences that might come up. Good. So tell me a little bit about some of the critical skills you think are important for human resources people.
Yeah, definitely. So for human resources, I would definitely encourage people to become strong critical thinkers, strong listeners, learning to understand other people's perspectives, and really leading and partnering with managers through that process. In HR, you also want to make sure you have an understanding of all aspects of the business. While you may not be operating each and every single department, you're supporting those departments as well.
Yeah. Okay. I'm interested next in talking a little bit about your time at San Diego State. And you just mentioned some of the skills and things that are necessary for human resources people. But what we're trying to talk to students about is the wide range of resources and opportunities that students have to get involved, to start developing their skills, to do a whole bunch of things. Maybe you can share a little bit about what you did and what resources you took advantage of at San Diego State while you were there.
Of course. Yeah, I would definitely recommend making the most of your time at San Diego State. There's so many resources available. Everything from the Career Center and the job fairs that they host, and getting involved in organizations. Also, I personally was involved in the Society for Human Resource Management organization, which ultimately helped me a lot in my career search and in my path to where I am now. So really leveraging those tools, making the most of those tools, and making sure that you're prepared when attending a job fair by using the Career Center.
Okay. And tell me a little bit about what the involvement in the Society of Human Resources Management and really any student organization, it played a big part in your job search, and tell me what employers said, or how did that benefit you?
Definitely. So in SHRM, which is what we call it, the abbreviation there, I was involved for a couple years there from 2017 to 2018. In 2018, however, was where I feel like I learned the most and gained the most out of it, as I was able to gain a position, an officer position within the organization. And through that position, I was a corporate relations director, and that taught me how to connect with professionals and coordinating with professionals and getting them to visit and attend events at our organization, right? So I learned to network through that role. And it also helped me as an icebreaker when I was interviewing for other positions and jobs in the future, where if I'm interviewing for an HR role, most HR professionals are aware of what SHRM is, as there's student chapters, local chapters, and national chapters as well. I was able to use that as an icebreaker to share, I'm involved with SHRM, and this is what I've gained out of my experience there. And through SHRM, I was also able to attend national conferences that were covered by the organization. And these conferences were in Chicago and Las Vegas, and a lot of learnings that came from that. And that's actually one of the reasons I decided to join the HR profession ultimately, was because of a conference, and I was truly inspired to follow that path.
Okay, that's really good. I remember interviewing lots and lots of recent college graduates, and I always looked for opportunities that students took to take on some leadership responsibilities. I think it's an important skill to start developing even in school. So I would agree with you. A big plug for student organizations. I think it adds a lot. How about internship? Kathy, did you have an internship? Maybe you can talk a little bit about how that played a role, or what role, if any, that played in your college career.
Yeah, definitely. So I was able to obtain an internship during my time at SDSU. And my internship is actually what ultimately led me to my first role in HR. So I entered the hospitality industry with a super entry level role as a front desk agent at a hotel locally there in San Diego. And from that internship, I was able to grow into a management role. And from the management role, I was able to grow into my first HR role. So, I would definitely recommend internships for anyone out there who is interested in exploring that, because that can lead to your first real opportunity in your career in the real world.
Yeah, that happens fairly frequently, actually. It's a great way for both the intern and the organization almost to do a trial run and see what the fit feels like. So I'm glad you had a good experience with that. Okay, so picture a couple of hundred students just entering the management major in an auditorium, and if you were standing in front of them, what advice could you give them on how to launch a successful business career?
Absolutely. So this is something that, we still navigate as professionals. What's the best way to approach things? What's the best way to do things? And one thing that has really stuck with me in the end, as far as best advice, is number one, be yourself. We get caught up sometimes in what's the right thing to say, or what kind of questions should I ask in an interview? And sometimes get caught up and worried about what the right answers are, where we forget to be ourselves and arrive authentically at a meeting or in an interview. And sometimes maybe come off a little bit robotic and scripted because of all of the studying that we did, right? So just that would be, one of my biggest pieces of advice is be yourself on that job search, and the right opportunity will come along.
Yeah. Okay, that's good advice. One thing that you did also mention previously was networking. So maybe you could, because I think that's also a really important piece of advice, that maybe you can share a little bit of your experiences on how you get started, how you learn to do it, and what the benefits were.
Definitely. So, I could link that again to be yourself when it comes to networking, right? I think that'll be the biggest way to get comfortable with it. It's scary to start. It's scary to think about, but it's really about practicing and continuing to do that. And there's so many networking events that are hosted by SDSU and the Career Center and the organizations. So in preparation for those events, I would definitely recommend researching who might be present for those events, what companies might be there, what roles they're looking at, what the values of those companies are. So that way, when you arrive at those events, you have some knowledge and a way of connecting with someone, as opposed to you arriving at a conversation with nothing really planned to say. It's just, hey, I noticed you've been with this company for X amount of years. How do you like working there? Or I noticed that recently you guys have been working on this. Can you tell me a little bit more about that project? And maybe a tip there would be to keep questions open-ended to try and keep the conversation going. But it's really about that preparation piece, so that way you feel more comfortable and you're able to be yourself because you feel more comfortable.
Okay. Okay, great. Well, I think we're going to wrap it up there. Kathy, I think the points that you hit on, the importance of involvement in student organizations, networking, making sure that, the internship is meaningful and helpful. And then capped off by authenticity and being yourself, which I couldn't agree more. It's important that employers see you as you are versus finding that out later, So the best way to do that is as you engage in networking or interviews. So we really appreciate you taking your time. Like we appreciate all of our alumni that are willing to come back and give back a little bit to San Diego State. So thanks so much for your participation and for your help.
Absolutely. It was a pleasure.